Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1279A, and today's date is May 14th, 2017, and the title of the episode is, It Begins, a Bill Has Been Passed to End Income Taxation on Gold and Silver. Now, before I get started, I have two announcements. First, I just want to wish all those people celebrating Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day. Two, I uploaded an interview with Gregory Mannarino on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, and all you have to do is go over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight. It will bring you to the video, or you can come over to the X22report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there, or you can go to newssentinel.com, same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you can play the video right on the site. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, as we can see, the economy, well, it really has not improved at all. Even though Trump is out there, and I understand this, he's out there telling everyone that jobs are coming back. He is pumping up the stock market. Look how good everything is. And we need to remember that this is part of the plan, because the only tools he has is to use what the central bankers have, to use what has been used all along to basically pop these bubbles. He needs to push the agenda to create a circumstance where the economy comes down under their system and then turn around and blame them. Now, I do believe that this is part of the plan, and this is why we see things happening the way they are happening. Now, we know that the stock market has nothing to do with Trump. We know that all these jobs, they can't come back to the United States right now. The United States is actually losing jobs. Manufacturers are not coming back to the United States right now. It makes no sense for them to come back to the United States because of the tax laws, the regulations, and there's cheaper labor overseas. So why would manufacturing come back to the U.S. right now? Now remember, when they were pushing forward the TPP and the TTIP, what they were going to do is they were going to bring foreign workers to the United States and pay them what they were going to be making in those countries here in the United States. So they would be getting paid their wages from their country, which would then put out most of the American workers because the American worker wouldn't be able to compete, and they would bring down the cost of living here in the United States and make the United States a third world country, because this is where we were headed. Now, since the TPP has gone absolutely nowhere, it's dead in the water, what needs to be done right now? Everything needs to be changed. The system cannot operate the way it is right now. We don't have real trade with most of the world. We use dollars, because we're the reserve currency of the world, to control nations, to force nations to give us their goods, while in return they get dollars. And this system is coming to an end. This is why Trump is out there and he's saying that trade is so important. And we can see right now that as the economy deteriorates and falls apart, well, it's going to be very, very important later on. Now, out in Canada, we've been talking about Home Capital Group, and their entire business is completely falling apart. Actually, Canada is saying that they haven't seen a bank run such as this in decades. And they're looking at it, and we know there's about 95% of all retail deposits. They have left the business. And we can see the company now is struggling. So right now, it looks like that they might be getting some type of bailout, because Canada's looking at the situation and they don't want this to spread, even though under the covers, it's already spreading. It's almost like Bear Stearns and AIG and the rest of the companies where they said, oh no, this is an isolated incident, don't worry about it. This one's an isolated incident. No, they're all connected. And sooner or later, the whole thing is just going to be a complete mess. It's going to implode on itself. We're also seeing auto loans. And we've been talking about the auto industry for a very long time. We understand how they channel stuffed the dealerships, where they continually produced cars. And then, of course, when they channel stuff the dealership lots, those are counted as sales. And then the dealerships have a lot of cars, and then the manufacturers have to offer incentives to move those cars off the lot so they can bring more cars in. But to do this, they needed a way to allow individuals with really bad credit to come in and purchase these cars. And this is why they kept on reducing the requirements for those individuals to come in and purchase these cars. And what we're seeing right now is the backlash to all of this. We're seeing delinquencies right now. They are surging like crazy. They're at the highest point. Actually, we're almost to the point where we were back in 2008, 2009. That's how bad it has gotten. And as we move forward, we can see that things are just going to get worse. Now, ironically, lenders, well, they haven't pulled back at all. They're actually accelerating how much they are lending out for automobiles, because what we're seeing right now is that the subprime deals, they have increased from 5.1% back from 2010 all the way up to 32.5%. And this whole thing is going to be a complete disaster. Morgan Stanley revealed that 60-plus day delinquencies at 266 subprime auto ABS deals were surging despite low unemployment. Again, something that doesn't make any sense. We have low unemployment. Actually, the Fed is saying we're at full employment and the economy is working above its potential right now. But again, we see strange things happening. We see retail stores closing with low unemployment. We see the delinquency rate in auto loans rising like there's no tomorrow with low unemployment, which tells us something, again, is off. And we know what's off. These unemployment numbers are completely fake, phony, and false. Now, what's happening here is the automakers, they have flooded the market with automobiles. And there are just too many autos that are out on the market right now. And what we're seeing right now is that there's an estimated around 12 million low mileage vehicles that are coming off leases. And it's going to hit the market, which is going to make used car prices continually fall. And we're seeing used car prices falling just like we did back in 2008. And what's very interesting about all of this is that we're seeing a lot of the same similarities that happened back in 2008. And remember, nothing has been fixed since that time. All the central banks have done, all the U.S. government has done, has covered up what happened back in 2008. And they kept covering it up until here we are in 2017, where things are so out of whack right now, where things are so bad, but no one really notices because they're keeping the illusion alive. And they want to keep it alive until the system comes down. And like I said, there's a battle of who's going to bring the system down. Now, we know that trade is very important for the United States. And Trump continually mentions trade. He's saying, yes, trade is very important. We need trade. And the reason why he's saying this is because this is exactly what we're going to need once the U.S. is no longer the reserve currency of the world. We will need to establish trade. Now, remember, the globalists, they had a completely different plan. They wanted the TPP because they wanted the system to continually operate the way they wanted it to operate. And they knew the United States was never going to bring back manufacturing under their system. They knew that the way the system was, it was going to completely fall apart and break apart and collapse eventually, which we knew that after every 40, 45 years, the current fiat system normally breaks down. And this is what we're seeing right now. And they knew this was going to happen. And this is why they wanted the TPP in place, because this way they knew that the United States was going to become a third world country. This is why they were bringing in all the illegal immigrants. This is why they wanted a TPP, to bring in other people from other places to manufacture here. Yeah, they were going to bring back manufacturing, but not the way you thought it was going to be. It was going to be with those individuals from other countries making income from their countries here in the United States, which would compete with the everyday worker here, and the everyday worker would not be able to compete, and we would have to lower our way of life. Now, remember, their idea of trade, their idea of the way it should be is completely different than what Trump wants to do. Now, McCain is out there. He does not agree with Trump whatsoever. He does not want any type of trade deal that goes against the globalists, because he understands that if Trump establishes these trade deals and the system collapses, it's not going to be the way the globalists want it, where they are in control, where the United States is a third world country. What Trump is trying to do is he's trying to establish trade, because eventually what's going to happen is that we won't be able to use the dollars anymore, where countries are going to be giving their products to us as we give them dollars. We're going to have to trade. Oh, we have grain, you give us something. And that's how it's going to have to work. Yes, we do have that right now, but not on a grand scale of the way we're going to need it when the whole thing comes down. Now, Trump's appointed manufacturing czar, well, he is supporting NAFTA. Now, this is GE CEO Jeff Immelt, and he sits on Trump's appointed manufacturing council, and he is all for NAFTA. And we can see right now that Trump right now, he is getting ready to renegotiate NAFTA. And if the negotiations don't go the way he wants, well, he's going to scrap it. Now, he's negotiating because a lot of the laws are intertwined into Congress, and Congress would have to get involved in removing NAFTA completely. And that's going to be very, very difficult at this point in time, because the globalists, they are still in charge. So we can see right now that this is going to be a battle. And I don't know if this individual, Jeff Immelt, is going to last as the Trump-appointed manufacturing council, because we can see right now he's not on the same page whatsoever. Actually, we're going to see a lot of individuals within the Trump administration most likely be removed as time goes on. Now, what's very interesting is that states have been preparing, and we've been talking about this for a while, where they have brought up these bills to end income taxation on gold and silver, to make gold and silver sound money, to set up certain areas where you can store gold and silver. And we can see out in Arizona, well, the Senate voted 16-13 to remove all income taxation on precious metals at the state level. Now, under the House Bill 2014, introduced by Representative Mark Fitcham, Arizona taxpayers will simply back out all precious metal gains and losses reported on their federal tax returns from the calculation on their Arizona adjusted gross income. Now, Ron Paul noted that HB 2014 is a very important and timely piece of legislation. The Federal Reserve's failure to reignite the economy with record low interests since the last crash is a sign that we may soon see the dollar's collapse. It is therefore imperative the law protect people's right to use alternatives to what may soon be virtually worthless Federal Reserve notes. We ought not to tax money, and that's a good idea, he says. It makes no sense to tax money. Paper is not money. It's a substitute for money, and it's fraud. And what he means by that is that he's referring to the fractional reserve banking practices by the Federal Reserve and other central banks. Now, as a reminder, in 1813, Thomas Jefferson warned, paper money is liable to be abused, has been, is, and forever will be abused in every country in which it is permitted. This is also why the men who drafted the Constitution empowered Congress to mint gold and silver. And we can see right now that as the economy falls apart, as the U.S. eventually loses the reserve currency of the world, as the dollar then is devalued and their new currency is born, most likely backed by gold, silver, we can see right now that the system is going to radically change. And we can see that there are states getting prepared for this. We also see that many individuals are looking towards cryptocurrency. Many individuals are still purchasing gold and silver. Countries like China and Russia, India, and many other countries, they've been buying gold and silver for a very long time. And we can see why, because they understand that the dollar, well, time is running out, and they know eventually it's going to fail. This is why China is creating the Silk Road. This is why the United States is looking at the Silk Road and looking to join the Silk Road. Now, the globalists, they do not want to join the Silk Road. Actually, we've seen through the Obama administration, they wanted to have nothing to do with this. They had their TPP. It was going against the Silk Road. They didn't want to join that at all. Trump right now is looking at it and saying, listen, we're going to need this trade when the system comes down. We're going to need to trade with other countries. We're going to have to be part of this. We see already that many countries have already jumped on board with the Silk Road. And we can see that this is going to be huge. And for the United States not to be a part of this, this is going to be a huge problem. So what we see coming right now is a complete collapse of the system. We see that Trump right now is preparing the economy to weather the storm. Now, the storm is going to be fierce. It's not going to be easy for many individuals. And like I said before, you need to be ready and prepared for what is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.